Before I start this video, I do want to stress that this is not a review of Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. I have not seen Robert Eggers' Nosferatu yet. I will probably watch it eventually. So if you clicked on this video expecting a review of it, then sorry, but this is not for you. This is just an analysis of why Nosferatu has done so well since opening on Christmas Day. Robert Eggers' Nosferatu opened on Christmas Day in North America, and since then, it has grossed $21.1 million over the traditional weekend, that's Friday to Sunday, and $40.3 million since its debut on Christmas Day. And some analysts are already saying that the gothic horror genre has returned from the dead. To put Nosferatu into perspective, the previous record holder for biggest opening weekend for a horror movie on Christmas weekend was Robert Rodriguez's The Faculty that opened in 1998. Unadjusted for inflation, The Faculty grossed $4.4 million opening day and $11.6 million over the traditional weekend. In this video, I want to explore why, in my opinion, Robert Eggers' Nosferatu resonated with audiences in such a way that it beat box office expectations. And it originally was tracking to open to $25 million opening weekend since Christmas Day. And I've distilled it down to two main reasons why Nosferatu succeeded. Typically, I do three reasons, but I think there's only two major reasons why it succeeded, and I think it is as simple as this. The first reason is that not many people have seen the 1922 silent film or its remake from 1979. Okay, most people in the world at this point have heard of Nosferatu. It's one of the most famous horror movies, ever made. Like you may have heard of Nosferatu. You may have even seen it referenced on Spongebob when in that one episode he was messing with the lights. But ask yourself this question: have you ever seen the original silent film from 1922? Probably not, unless if you were like a die-hard film buff. You're not going to go back and rewatch a silent film from the 20s. And in fact, most people didn't even remember that this isn't the first remake of Nosferatu. I brought up the remake from 1979. That movie was titled Nosferatu the Vampire, and that was directed by Werner Herzog and starred Klaus Kinski in the titular role. But still, I think the reason why Nosferatu did so well is that it's the horror movie that everybody has heard of, but that nobody has seen. And now you have the option, like you could go back and rewatch the 1922 silent film. The 1922 silent film has been in the public domain for quite some time. You could download it off the internet for free if you really wanted to. But who actually wants to go through and actually watch a silent movie in this day and age? Like I said, unless if you're in film school or you're one of the biggest film buffs on the planet, you're not going to waste your time watching a silent film. You can make the same argument for why most people when they watch Ben-Hur, they watch the one from the 50s that starred Charlton Heston, which in and of itself was a remake of a silent film from the 20s. And so if I gave you the option of and I know I'm going based off 10 Commandments, but trust me, I'm going to make a point with it. Okay, if I gave you the option, you can watch the 10 Commandments, but I gave you the option, and there is no option 3. You have to pick one or the other. Okay, I gave you the option of you can watch the 10 Commandments from the 20s that Cecil B. DeMille directed, or you can watch the one from 59 starring Charlton Heston that was in color and had sound and was this big epic. Well, even the one from the 20s was an epic. But the version from the 20s is in black and white, which isn't really that big of a deal. And it's also a silent film. So which one are you going to pick? Are you going to pick the 1920s black and white silent film of the 10 Commandments, or are you going to pick the one from the 50s that was in color starring Charlton Heston but actually has sound? That one that I'm going to leave hypothetical. I'm going to leave it up to you. But most people are probably going to pick the one from the 50s that's in color with Charlton Heston. It's the same mindset going into Nosferatu here. Why am I going to watch the silent film that's over 100 years old, that I know is not in black and white. They played with color to convey emotion, but unless if you understand the language of silent films, you're not going to understand what all of those tints mean. So it's like, you know what? I don't want to look up all of this, like, I don't want to look up like film history and what all of these different tints mean on Nosferatu and silent films in general. I'm just gonna watch the new one that's coming out in theaters and calling it a day. All right, I've tangented enough, so let's go on to the second reason. And the second reason why I believe Nosferatu succeeded on Christmas is that it serves as a nice break from tradition. Okay, and what I mean by that is that around Christmas time, every single year, you have ABC Family's 25 Days of Christmas, which I love. ABC Family's 25 Days of Christmas, right? They always show the Rankin and Bass specials, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, The Year Without a Santa Claus, Frosty the Snowman. There's always at least one or two adaptations of A Christmas Carol. A Christmas Story is typically shown. I think TBS does a 24-hour marathon of A Christmas Story on Christmas Day. What are the the 1950s cartoon How the Grinch Stole Christmas is always guaranteed to play at least once during this time of year, from mid-November to all the way up to Christmas. Another couple others, probably Miracle on 34th Street, even though personally I haven't seen Miracle on 34th Street played on television in a number of years. There might be one or two local stations. It's a Wonderful Life might play on television. Again, when I was growing up, watching like the 25 Days of Christmas, that was on ABC Family, now known as Freeform. But they still do the 25 Days of Christmas. But again, me personally, I never saw It's a Wonderful Life played on television. But still, you know, okay, you have all of these Christmas movies and all of these TV shows doing Christmas themed episodes. But now here you have a gothic horror movie, a remake of Nosferatu coming out. It's like, you know, I could watch Miracle on 34th Street again. I could watch Red One, which is basically a Save Santa Claus story, which has been done multiple times on television, or I can actually take the risk and go watch Nosferatu, and at least I can say that I watched a horror movie on Christmas Day. I was going to bring up the example of Nightmare Before Christmas, but Nightmare Before Christmas did not do well when it originally released. It actually didn't do well until it released on video. Right, and I would say that Nosferatu really panders to that audience that, you know, that watches the movie Nightmare Before Christmas every year around Christmas time, and it's actually the same reason why Nightmare Before Christmas around Christmas time. Now, once again, the Nightmare Before Christmas did bomb when it first came out. It was a much bigger success on home video because it was a little too avant-garde for the time. But still, this is why Nosferatu succeeded, is because it was the most avant-garde, you know, type movie that released around Christmas, and you can't really ignore that. And I know I've dragged this video out longer than it needed to be, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end it off with this, and that Nosferatu provided a nice break from the traditional norms for most people. Going to see a vampire movie on Christmas Day instead of a movie that involves Santa Claus or other traditional Christmas lore, in my opinion, was going to do well. It was gonna do well in the 2020s by comparison to the 1990s. You know, and Christmas movies typically can only be watched for roughly 5 to 6 weeks out of the year, and that is from mid-November up to the end of December, and really that's it. But horror movies can be watched anytime, no matter the holiday, in my opinion.